One thing I can tell you about real estate investments is that it is not a one-way traffic investment. There are many ways that leads into the real estate investment industry. And that is what we want to discuss in this video, because you may be wondering, you want to start investing in real estate and the only dimension you know is maybe rental property. I can tell you that there are many dimensions in real estate as someone who sells real estate and helps people to invest in real estate. So I can tell you that there are many dimensions in the real estate industry that you can even start with small capital. So it is not necessarily you have the huge chunk of money before you can invest in real estate. You can even start with the fifth part, the fifth segment, and with as little as 50,000 naira, you can start with that. I hope you understand. And you know, I'm not here to cajole you. I'm here to give you practical steps, practical tips that can help you in the real estate industry. As my primary job, which is a real estate broker, that is my primary job. All other forms of investments are what I use, are the vehicles I use in growing my money. So the primary source of making money for me is real estate. Others, I use them to grow my money. You know, there's a difference between making money and growing your money. So I multiply my money through other forms of investments, but real estate is the primary source, of income for me. So let's go into it. Number one is what we call the land dimension of real estate investments. The land dimension. It simply means you just having to do with the natural resource that God has provided, which is the land. And one thing about land is that it is a finite resource, which means God is no longer making more lands. God is no longer making more lands, except for the one he created in the beginning. Maybe except for those who are now doing some filling up or the rest. But definitely, we know that that can only go so far. But when we talk about finite resource, it is land. So let's talk about land. In the land space alone, the one that I know, and at least I know that I have played like in 4 of them. The only one I've not gotten to is the last one. So let's go into it. The first one is the land banker. A land banker. Who is a land banker? A land banker sees into the future, is futuristic in nature, go ahead to buy an expanse of land in order to keep it so as to resell it in the future or to develop it. The major aim of a land banker is to buy an expanse of land or a piece of land in order to sell or to develop it in the future. And one thing about a land banker is they don't just buy land blindly. They are strategic. They look at an urban development today, maybe 30 minutes drive, 40 minutes drive to those urban developments today, maybe an urban town, and they go and position. We call it positioning. They go and position themselves there, buy an expanse of land. Eventually, what happens at the end, maybe in the next 15, 20 years, they begin to sell or they begin to develop. So that is for land banking. Land banking is usually futuristic. Number 2 is what we call the land aggregator. Land aggregator simply amass land to himself as an investor, and the major aim of a land aggregator is also to sell. But the difference between a land aggregator and a land banker is majorly, and a land banker usually buys en masse, an expanse. It could be 10 acres, 15 acres. That's for land bankers. For land aggregator, 1 plot today, 2 plots tomorrow, eventually 3 plots. It could be in different location. Just aggregating it in his name, perfecting his title. That is for land aggregator. Now, the next one is a land retailer. And this is where the money is. A land retailer. Most of these real estate development companies, this is where they start from. And I can tell you that. This is where they start from, all the big names you know. Rarely will you see anyone that started from the last one. Rarely. Most of them started from land retailing, which is they buy an expanse of land, they divide it into plots, and they begin to sell to the public. So it's possible they can buy like 10 acres, they now divide it into plots, and they begin to sell. So you can start with that as an investor. So you can start with land banking, you can start with land aggregating, By buying one plot today, you have 1 million naira today, you buy one plot. Next time, you buy another plot. You are aggregating land. You are adding it to the other. Then you can go into land retailing if you have money. At least, especially, let's say for instance in Nigeria, if you have, let's say maybe 20 to 50 million, you can start land retailing. And if you know you are interested in land retailing, you can reach out to me through our websites. I will drop the link in the description. Or you send me an email if you are interested in land retailing. So then land flipping. Land flipping means it's short-term in nature. You buy a piece of land today, and in the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you sell it off. Most of this, when you are doing land flipping, it's usually in a developing location or in a developed location. For land banking, it's usually in an undeveloped location. Undeveloped location. That's for land banking, or underdeveloped. For land flipping, it's usually a developing location or a developed location. So you buy, the aim is to resell. And if you want to make money as a land flipper, you should know how to negotiate. Negotiation should be a major skill of yours as a land flipper. So I'm just dropping that. As an investor, you want to be a land flipper, negotiating should be a major skill you must have. Then we'll have the last one, which is the land developer. They buy an expanse of land and they begin to develop, maybe as an off-plan or maybe as a finished product. Is it as an off-plan or a finished product, as a finished apartment? Then we have the second one, which we call the rental properties. When we talk about rental properties, I mean, for instance, the tenanted property. You build, let's say, 4 flats of 2 bedroom each, and you begin to rent it out. Normally, the kind of people that usually invest in this kind of property are those who are looking to preserve their capital, not for capital appreciation. Preservation of capital. That's why you see some people castigating them, saying that rental property is useless. It is not useless. It is their own strategy of preserving their capital. You may want to preserve your own capital and decide maybe to invest in dollars. So we have different strategies for capital preservation. Somebody who has not made so much money may be thinking of capital appreciation. But somebody who has made, let's say, 500 million, 200 million, may just be thinking, I have an active income. I just want something that will help me to preserve this capital from depreciation. Maybe to hedge against inflation. And one thing about tenanted properties is that on the long run, they hedge against inflation. So, rental property. Then you can decide to build an hostel, to rent it to students. Then we have office complex, is also rented property. Then shopping mall as well, rental property. Then we have warehouse, also as a rental property. So all this you can start as a beginner, depending on your level, depending on the amount you are bringing into the industry, into the investments. Then we have, if you have money, you can go into commercial properties. Commercial property, the aim of commercial property is to give you cash flow. So the difference between this warehouse and this warehouse is, you are not the one operating this warehouse, you only rent it out. But for this commercial property, you are the owner, you are the one operating it. So for instance, maybe Honeywell Flour is looking for a warehouse to host its products, for the meantime. You can decide to host it, let's say for 2 months, let's say for 3 months. It is for cash flow. So it's different from rental properties, where this one is majorly you rent it out and you collect maybe like lease. You lease it out 5 years, 2 years, even for 1 year. You rent it out for 1 year. The cash flow is in 12 months or in 2 years' time. But for this, you are the one operating it. It is for cash flow. So people come temporarily just for your warehouse to host their products, to host their goods. So, and you collect money, maybe for 2 weeks, maybe for 1 month, 3 months, it is for cash flow. Then we have event center. If you have money, you can do event center. Then we have service apartments, is also real estate investments. Then we have shared workspace. All this is all about cash flow. Event center, almost at least once in a month. At times, if it is a good location, especially during the December period, November period, they usually see patronage almost every week. People are going for parties, people are hosting parties. So event center, service apartment also, is different from the tenanted property. This is made also for cash flow. Then you have shared workspace, and if you have the money, you can build an hotel. Then we have the fourth one, which is what we call the buy and sell. You just buy and you resell. Buy and resell. Also, we have the buy, remote, and resell. There are some people, that's what they do. They buy a dead property. When I say a dead property, a property that is old school in nature, and they refurbish it into a new one and they resell. Then we have the last one, which is the REITs. The REITs, real estate investment trusts. And for this, you can invest in diverse ways. One of the ways you can invest in this is by buying the shares of companies that does this. So in return, they pay you dividend. In return, you have what we call capital appreciation. For instance, we have 3 of them in the Nigerian stock market. We have the UMO REITs, we have the SFS REITs, and we have the UPDC REITs. So you can start from there. And also there are independent companies that does this, but just make sure they are verified. For instance, you can use an app called Cable. RiceVest also does the same thing. RiceVest, yes, also does the same thing. So REITs. So that's, and with as little as 20,000 naira you can start. For instance, if you want to buy the shares, you want to invest in the shares of the companies that offer this, with as little as 5,000 naira you can start. So you can see that you don't have any excuse. So you can see that from this explanation now, there are different dimensions of real estate. So the real estate investment is not a one-way traffic. If you have any question, thoughts, or comments, drop it in the comment section below. If you are yet to subscribe to this channel, kindly do by clicking on the subscribe button. Click on the notification bell so you can be notified whenever we release a new video. So we meet in our next video. Stay blessed.